More Than Fades fam, my name is Shear. I'm a licensed barber out of Oklahoma City and I drop content to help barbers grow in our careers. So in today's video, we'll be talking all about our gentleman's cuts, the third video in our haircut breakdown series, so let's get into it. So we're talking today about gentlemen's cuts. These are extremely important, and I know for some of you guys, you have no idea what I'm talking about right now. What is a gentleman's cut? I've never heard of this. So gentleman's cut are those haircuts you see that are done just with combs and with shears. So they're an extremely important skill to have as a barber, and I believe most states require you to do a practical that includes having a gentleman's cut in it. So it's something you've got to know. So the characteristics of a gentleman's cut are that we're gonna do letters, okay. Or that A, you don't really need clippers or trimmers at all for them. So you really just need to have your comb and your shear, and you'll be able to do the entire haircut with just these two tools. This is unlike any other haircut we've talked about. B, you don't set in any guidelines at all for your gentleman cuts. So if you've watched the other videos in this series, and if you haven't, I have them linked up below. We've talked about bald fades and we've talked about taper fades. Both of those haircuts require that you set in guidelines. With the gentleman's cut, there are no guidelines at all. You more so are focused on creating shape than you are blending out a hard line that you've created. So this makes this be a very different haircut, and it makes you, there is a helicopter, I'm so sorry y'all, hold on. So it makes you have to really work on your shear skills, which so many barbers are lacking. I cannot tell you how many barbers are just faders. They can just make a bald line, fade that bald line out, and it'll be a crispy, super clean, awesome cut, but they don't have any other skills that they can actually do. You have to be able to wield your shears as a barber. And shears just mean scissors. I forgot to say that earlier. So we just call them shears. Cosmetologists, barbers just call them shears. Anyway, so many barbers focus just on their fading abilities instead of being well-rounded. You want to know how to do your gentleman's cut because it forces you to know your shears inside and out, your angles inside and out, your direction of flow of hair inside and out. So don't be that person who can only fade. Be a complete barber. And shears is gonna get you there fast. The next characteristic about our gentleman fades, or C, are that they taper down at the sides and the back. Now when I say taper, I'm not talking about a taper fade, which we've discussed. What I'm referring to is that the hair gradually decreases in length, or it tapers down, or it gets shorter as you get closer to the ears and the nape of the neck. That's all I mean whenever I say taper. So what happens is the hair is not all one even length all the way across. That would be like a bowl cut or something. But whenever you have a gentleman's cut, the hair will start to flow and stop right about the ear or so, depending on how short your client wants their hair. But more or less, the hair is going to taper down in length as you do the cut. So what this looks like, I know some of you guys are like, I can't even picture what a gentleman's cut looks like in my head. I feel like I've never seen one. Well, whenever you see like old 50s or 60s movies, or you see like a cowboy movie, or you see like greasers or something, you'll have somebody who can kind of do this to their hair and still have some hair right around here. So it's not bald, but they still have hair they could comb or that they could brush backwards. So that is what a gentleman's cut looks like on straight hair. On curly hair, it looks like a tapered in fro. So kind of like a light bulb shape. So my afro is even all the way around. Like the length of this hair is almost the same as like this hair. If I had a gentleman's cut, this hair would be shorter, and then it would kind of light bulb out into a more round shape at the top. So that's what they look like. Think about someone who's, think about like Black Panthers, think about 70s afros, all those kind of tapered in at the nape and at the corners. Those are going to be a gentleman's cut on curly hair. So D, the fourth characteristic you should know about your gentleman's cuts are that you set in your base with shear over comb. You can technically set in your base with just some partings and then kind of coming out like a 45 and then cutting at a diagonal to where you have the shape. And if that just sounded confusing, don't be alarmed. Because once again, just think about, you want the hair to kind of come in and taper in at the back and at the sides. So it's going to have to look a bit stacked. And whenever you take those parting sections, that's one way to do it. But because that sounds complicated and is a bit complicated, I would recommend you just come in with your comb and do some shear over comb. So you literally are just going to go up the head at an angle, creating that stacked shape from jump with just your shears opening and closing over and over again. So you're just creating that shape, creating that shape. That's how I would tell a beginner to set in the base of a gentleman's cut, and that's how I learned how to. It's just simpler than trying to figure out how to do your partings in sections. So you want to come in at the base, set it up with shear over comb. Then as you get closer to your parietal ridge, or more or less this curve up in here, that's called your parietal ridge, you're going to approach that section of the hair differently. So this is where skill, angle, time, effort, and practice come in. Remember how in our bald fade and taper fade video, which y'all should really watch, remember how we said that the most important part of those cuts are your guidelines. It determines your cut. Well, when it comes to gentleman's cuts, your partings determine the cut because we don't have a guideline. So how you take your partings or your sections determines the flow of the hair, determines how choppy the hair is going to be, and obviously the length of the hair whenever you cut it. So your partings and sections are extremely important, as is the angle which you cut the hair. Now, I'm not gonna sit up here and break down angles and stuff, because I'm not super excellent at that, and there are a whole bunch of people who can say that better. But also because angles can be complicated. You'll learn this in barber college or you'll see it in the shop, but you have to take really clean partings and sections, and you need to think about the angle you're cutting the hair. If you want something to taper in, you're probably not going to cut it straight across. You're probably going to cut it in to where it kind of is at a diagonal, right? Think about it in terms of that, and that'll get you at least half of the way as you're a beginner. Like I said, go look at people who are way more qualified than me to talk about specific angles and stuff, because I am not excellent at that yet. When I get better, I will talk about that more at length. Since I'm not there, I won't. So instead of focusing on angles, I'll be talking to you guys about making sure your sections and partings are clean. So many barbers, oh my gosh, you'll get a guy who wants a comb over, right? A comb over is like a super classic, like a soccer cut at this point. Everybody who's a soccer player has them. They come in, they want a comb over, and a barber will spray down the hair with the water bottle. This is for someone that has straight hair. They'll spray down their hair with the water bottle and take a super chunky section, like 3 inches of hair, and then just start cutting. That doesn't make sense, right? Now, I know in a moment we can all be kind of flustered or confused, or like you're just trying to get through something real quick, but it doesn't make any sense to take a large section of hair in pretty much any situation when it comes to cutting hair as a barber. If you take a section like that, we all know that the hair can't be even. Something's gonna be messed up, because if you have a section that big, the hair is getting pulled from over here, hair is getting pulled from over here, you're gonna have over direction, which makes the hair be longer in some areas than others, and the cut's gonna come out funky. So take small sections, clean sections. Gentleman's cuts in the beginning will take you a while. Heck, when you're a beginner, most haircuts gonna take you a while. But gentleman's cuts in particular take a while because it really is detail heavy, because you're cutting the hair with your shears. And unlike with your clippers, where the blades move back and forth and you can kind of hit areas very broadly, shears are kind of an exacto precision tool. So you have to take your time and take the section small and make sure your partings are clean. Otherwise, your shears won't be able to cut the hair accurately, and you'll have hair that is too long or hair that is too short. Gentleman's cuts are not a very forgiving cut. If you did your partings weird, it'll show. If you did your angles oddly, it'll show. The hair will flow awkwardly, it'll stack weird. So if you're someone who really knows how to use their shears, you're gonna be so far ahead. I mean, it's not even kind of comparable. And I'm not putting too much on it. It really, really, really is going to help you a lot. Now, you can perform this cut either wet or dry. Kind of depends on your skill level and the texture of your client's hair. If you have a client though that wants to get a gentleman's cut and they have curly hair, or if they have wavy hair, there's something you must pay attention to though. Curly hair and wavy hair shrink up. So the curl or the wave is elongated whenever you wet the hair. It's stretched out. So as the hair begins to dry, the hair will appear shorter, because the hair is going to dry with the wave or with the curl that it naturally has. So if you're cutting somebody's fro and you wet it and you cut off a solid like 1 inch, inch and a half, it'll look like you cut off 3 inches of hair depending upon how curly their hair is, because it's gonna shrink up. I really wanted to mention that because I've seen people cut curly hair and they'll do their thing, it look perfect, it look awesome, and then the client come home, they loved it in the mirror at the shop, and then when they wash it and their hair dries, the hair looks super duper short and very shrunken. That is something you want to avoid, because obviously your client will be upset, but it's something that you don't necessarily know, because the client won't tell you, hey, you messed up my hair. They'll just never come back to you. So just recognizing if you cut someone's hair and it's curly, it's not going to be that length whenever it shrinks up. See, okay, for instance, this is my hair right now and it's normal fro, right? If you were to cut my hair or something, it won't look like this after you've given me the trim. It's gonna look way shorter. So this is my hair length elongated, right? This is my hair length if it was wet or if I straightened it. But look how short it is whenever it's just curly. Here's another section. My hair doesn't look this long whenever it's in a fro, but it's fairly long. So keep that in mind. Curly hair shrinks up. Boom. I want to remind you guys that cutting with shears is not something exclusive to long hair. Some of you guys would be like, I'm never gonna have someone that has, you know, hair really past, I don't know, the collarbone or really like mid-neck or something. Shears is not just for long hair. You should know how to use shears if your client comes in and has waves. If your client comes in and their hair is cut with like a 3 or something, you should know how to use your shears, period. And a gentleman's cut really is where your shear abilities matter the most on like a day-to-day basis. Obviously, if you're in a competition or something, you need your shear abilities. But just on a Wednesday, somebody comes in, you gotta have your shear work down if you're gonna be doing a gentleman's cut. So please, don't think it's just for long hair. Don't think it's just for ladies. Don't think it's just for cosmetologists. It's not. It's a skill you need to know as a barber, and it's very important that you focus on it early. So that is it for this video. I hope that you guys enjoyed it. We have one more video in this series left, so look forward to that. That should be coming up in a few days or so. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I can't wait to see you guys in the next one. Peace out.